Good evening, everybody. Yes, indeed, it is the Old Wolf here again for another episode of the Witch and Wolf Wisdom Podcast. Yes, it is April 4th, 2023, episode 63, Inner Demon Media. And my brother Sid Ryder is going to be joining us a little bit later. Got all kinds of interesting music, courtesy of the Inner Demon, and some new music coming out on my end. A lot of different things, as always. We're going to dance around with some stuff. Started off the evening with a little bit of the Incognito Theory. My brothers, Dave Incognito, and the rest of them are going to be playing a show soon. And I wanted to make sure I gave them that shout out. They are going to have a new release, American Rebel, May 30th, with multi-platinum producer Malcolm Springer. May 11th, okay, these guys are going to be out, and I'm going to throw that up there for those of you at home that can actually see. Yeah, it's going to be May 11th at the Debonair Music Hall, Teaneck, New Jersey. Opening for Scotty Austin, formerly of Saving Abel. It's going to be a really cool show. Anybody who's going to be out there, definitely check it out. And it's worth noting that these types of shows, not only are you going to have a better time, but it's going to cost you a whole hell of a lot less. I've seen some of the prices for some of these shows coming up, and it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. I support everybody's right to make a buck, but there comes a point. So you want to have a good time, hear some really good music, and not spend a fucking fortune? Yeah, go check out Incognito Theater. Incognito Theory, May 11th, again, at the Debonair Music Hall. So as always, we have to start off with a couple of the basics. The opinions, expressions, views, so forth and so forth, expressed or mine alone. Tonight, Sid may share some of those, and he's going to share his own. The music, unless otherwise indicated, obviously the rights belong to the person who made it. So in this particular case, Incognito Theory, yeah, it's their music. We have permission to use it. We're absolutely happy to support friends and family in the aspect of, music. And this is how it works, strength in numbers. So yeah, these guys will be coming on the show live at some point down the road soon. We're going to be featuring their music on again, off again. I see my sister Lindsay in the house. How you doing, sister? Great to see you. Hope you and the husband are doing good. So a lot of things been going on. I'm going to jump into a couple of those things just to kind of give those shout outs. So first we have, and this is something that's new for Shiya and I, we talked a little bit about this, we're going to be doing a radio show. And that radio show, okay, is going to be on Rochester Free Radio, WRFZ 106.3. Ooh. And my brother Jonathan tuning in from Edmond, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Good to see you, brother. So yes, we're going to be doing a radio show. Now, granted, it's going to be different than this show because obviously on-air radio is monitored and restrained by certain governmental bodies that say, you can't say this. All right, if I can get it, I won't be able to fuckity fuck on that show, but I can still share the magic and the music, which is what the show's going to be. So Shiya and I are going to be doing that soon. And there's some really great guys down there, including my Brian Judah, Rock the Rock, Sundays 12 to 3 on WRAZ. And you can check them out online as well, too. Even though it is a low-power FM station up here in Rochester, New York, they actually have an online presence. So you can listen to them online, not unlike Inner Demon Media. So these are little things that we can do to support each other. Not unlike my brother, Ed Contini, Over the Edge with Ed Contini. And he's another guy over here at WRFZ doing his thing. So we're really, really privileged, really honored to be involved in, it isn't just about, music and rock and roll. It's about magic. but also important things. Ed does a lot of work within the autism community, speaks about that. He's a true advocate. So, my brother Ed, if you're out there listening, you got the right idea. You keep doing that shit no matter what anybody tells you. So we're going to get back into, as we said, Inner Demon Media and Inner Demon Radio, which is the brainchild, the unholy birthing of my brother Sid Ryder. And it's actually really cool. We've gotten, just in the past couple of weeks, to meet some really incredible people who share some of the common ideas that we believe in. Strength in numbers, compassion, a more open, tolerant community, not this, hey, if you don't like what I have to say, go fuck. No. We can agree to disagree on certain things, but we can find common ground together on the things, obviously, that make sense, and more importantly, the things that are important to us, like music, like family, love, and sometimes some darker things. I talk about demons all the fucking time, so no coincidence. Sid and I have a few things in common. Now, my brother and I will probably get into fucking trouble tonight. Shiya has already made it a point. She's not even in the room. She's like, I'm going to have plausible deniability. I'm going to sit in the other room, kind of watch it from the side, kill some shit in Diablo, and y'all on your own, which is cool. You know what I mean? It's not often the boys get to play. So we're going to play. My brother Ed Cotini in the audience. Yes, you are quite welcome, my friend. Quite welcome. Always a pleasure. Yes, my dear Shiya is commenting, laugh out loud. Oh, you're going to laugh later, girl. Ha, ha, ha. So we like to have fun. We talk about things, and, sometimes we segue into odd stuff, like artificial flavoring from a beaver's asshole, which, by the way, I did the deeper research, is a little bit convoluted, but we'll save it for another episode when my sister Suzanne's on, because she is the beaver queen, and I know she's probably busy and not able to actually be on, but I know she will listen at some point. So, yes, the wolf is always watching. That's what I do best. Shiya and I were joking about this the other night. Her birthday was over the weekend, and we were reflecting upon the first time, our first real date. We had engaged and talked and interacted, but we didn't do that real physical thing. It was kind of on the tail end of the pandemic. So, everybody was just a little edgy, just like, But we went ahead and did it. And those of you who have met her and have experienced the witch, she is incredibly outgoing. You know what I mean? She'll literally, and this is true story, on our first date, walked up to a babbling fucking junkie and just embraced him like it was her long-lost child. Now, me, on the other hand, I'm a fucking wolf. I tend to stick to the shadows. I'll come out to check shit out, but usually if I'm coming out, it's because I'm going to rip something's throat out, and that's just how I've been conditioned. So I know better. I tend to stay away from humans. It's better for you. It's better for me. I love people, but the analogy is I love them from a distance where it's safe for me. And this is the curse of high-functioning empaths. And those of you with that curse know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. So, yeah, he was a fucking 7-Eleven. Listen, a junkie is a junkie. I don't care how you fucking slice it. But he definitely was giving off the, I'm going to snatch this girl's purse and run for the nearest crack house vibe. So I'm trying to be chill. I'm just kind of hanging to the shadow, just watching this whole interaction. And in the back of my mind was just like, okay, he has, that 1.5 second buffer between, throwing off that vibe and me just basically fucking curb stomping him. Now, again, I don't want to create the narrative that I'm a violent person by nature. I do not condone it. I always try to find the better path. But as somebody who has lived in the reality of this world, sometimes you're confronted with dynamics where you don't have a choice. I make the joking analogy, and unfortunately is a bit of a stereotype, but having grown up and spent a good part of my life around people within the motorcycle culture, there's a certain element of toughness, bravado, don't fuck with us. And there is, to a degree, of truth in that. Strength in numbers, just strength in numbers to a little bit more of an extreme degree. Now, again, that's not always a bad thing, especially when confronted by greater evils. So again, I try and find a balance with it. Don't go looking for it anymore. But there was a day. And thankfully that day's passed. But she was joking about it, and she picked up on the vibe. She knew. So she was just like, well, let's just test him out and see how he responds. Obviously, I passed the audition because we're still together 2 years later. So happy birthday, and here's to another 2 years, baby. So when we talk about music, those of you who know who've been following me, interacting with me, I'm a musician. That's part of what my magic is. But I also read tarot. I do counseling work. I do a lot of volunteer work for causes, not only autism, veterans, so forth and so forth. Some of it is done through different motorcycle clubs. I've always maintained a civilian angle on it, using the terminology. What that simply means is I support people through many different groups, and I do not align myself with any particular group specifically. And it's simply because, and we all know this, personalities and egos sometimes get in the fucking way. And the true definition of service is it's not about egos, it's not about personality, it's about the cause. It's about doing what needs to be done in the moment, the greater good. Or as the Star Trek analogy says, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the fucking one. So I've been blessed that I've been able to do that. I respect and I try, again, from a distance, to love people in my own way, but music has been my chosen form of expression. No coincidence, my brother Sid promotes and encourages that dynamic in a very unique way. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about it when he comes on in a few minutes. But I was blown away by it. And it's unique, especially in this day and age. So, in the spirit of the inner demon aspect, we're going to cut out to a track that I did, coincidentally, called Demons. And in that little break, there we go, get the inner demon media up here real quick. I'm going to get Brother Sid on the phone. We're going to have some conversations. We're going to talk about some more music, dance around, probably get in fucking trouble. Who knows? Again, my brother Sid's usually on the other end of the coin here. He's the guy doing the interviewing. He's the guy having to guide people through and, dance some of the things. Today, he can just kick back and, embrace his inner demon. So we're going to cut to Demons real quick, and then we'll be back with Sid Ryder, Inner Demon Media. Queuing up that track, yes. The witch was hitting me up today. She's like, oh, you got too much, blank space between that stuff. I'm like, I'm a fucking DJ. It's what I do. I do what I want. And I'm doing this on purpose. I'm just kind of dragging this out, fucking with her, because I know she's in the other room and can't really do anything to me in the moment. I'll pay for it later. Oh, but it's so worth it. Love you, baby. So without any of that dead air space, we're going to cut to Demons and then come back with Sid. Enjoy. All right, we're back with you live. I've got my brother Sid Ryder, Inner Demon Media, on the horn. I'm going to throw up his little
Buddy.
graphic thing. He can't see anything, so we're just going to have to kind of guide him through the whole little process of everything. So there we go. We got Sid up on there. Sid, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about Inner Demon Media and Inner Demon Radio, as the case may be.
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. Yeah, take it away.
As far as Inner Demon Media, we're just kind of like, at the core, just a media company, entertainment. We try to find I try to find ways to mix two different communities into one. So I try to mix the pagan community with the music community, and hence you see Inner Demon Media. And then, with anything you do, you kind of want to keep exploring and growing. And then I decided I was going to do Inner Demon Radio, and I've been doing that for about 2 years now.
Now, I know you have a very unique approach to it, and it was one of the things that blew me away, and to be honest with you, really kind of stuck in the aspect. It's like, you know what? I want to work with this guy. I want to get to know this guy better. You approach all of your relationships, specifically with the bands that you're promoting and helping to, get traction, with a simple honor code. You don't do contracts. You don't have them sign anything. Where the hell did you come up with that? And I mean, I got to tell you, that takes incredible steel gonads to be able, especially in this day and age, to just put yourself out there and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this based on the simple dynamic of your word. So where did that come from? And, how has that really worked for you?
Well, it's all, for me, it's all about integrity. These people that I'm bringing on, that I'm signing on to the record label itself, is friends of mine. They're friends. So at the beginning of the day, ultimately at the beginning of the day, they're my friends. And with like any kind of exchange, I look at it like money exchange. I'm a big guy about not loaning somebody money. It's the same concept. I don't loan nobody money because I know at the end of the day it's going to cause conflict and it's going to cause a rift between me and the friend that I loaned money to. So I thought, well, I'm going to do this. It took me a few years to decide to do it. It's just me building up my brand, me building my persona, I guess. Only way I can really think of it. But it took me a few years to decide to do it. When I did it, I was like, I'm going to do this by just a virtual handshake. It's one of those type of deals. If you don't like what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to leave. No hard feelings. There's no contract. Because the moment you put a contract in someone's face, their demeanor starts to change. The relationship starts to change. I've lost. When I first started doing this a few years back, I started off wanting to be a record label, and I approached some of the bands with a contract, and it left a bad taste in a lot of their mouths. And I didn't understand why, because it was a really simple contract. One of those type of deals where if I'm making a video for you, I'm just asking for you to let me leave that video up on my YouTube channel, blah, 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 things like that. Really simple stuff, and they didn't like it. Some of them left. Some of them was like, all right, I'll still hang with you. But when I decided to go back at it again, I was like, I'm just going to do it by a virtual handshake. My integrity, who I am as a person, my moral code should speak for itself. And if a band doesn't like what I do, they're more than welcome to say, hey, Sid, I think we're going to move on now into something bigger and better. And I'm all about that. That's ultimately what the goal is, right? I'm not here to make a dime off of them. I'm here to lift them up and give them a platform. And hopefully through my platform gives them an opportunity for bigger and better things.
I mean, it's a unique approach, and it does have an interesting, back end that without the contracts, you also have this incredible ability to just be like, hey, listen, I don't want to work with you anymore. And there's nothing that says that you can't just, as you said, maintain that integrity. You can make the decisions based on what works for you. So, again, I respect that. It's very similar to what I've done. I've kind of just produced, engineered, and done everything between myself and Shiya, and we put all the music out there for free because I just really felt, as you said, that it kind of defeats some of the magic, at least for me, in framing it behind a monetary element. Shia and I have all kinds of other things that we do that we make money from. I don't need to make money from this. And it's been interesting, too, because I don't begrudge anybody else. I was talking to Dave Incognito about it, and not everybody has that luxury. So we all have to do what we have to do. But there is a case to be made, just in the simple analogy, as you said, that within strength in numbers, if we support each other, if we kind of, do the little things that we can. And again, when you look at social media especially, it's really simple to like, to share, to subscribe. It doesn't cost you fucking anything. It
don't take much time.
Right. It takes like 6 seconds of your time, and it really helps out a lot.
It really does. And it boils down to the power of music itself, and how it can, and on all the different forms of music, how and magic can connect each other. And people don't realize a lot of the time, everyday average people listening to certain bands, and they get those goosebumps listening to a certain song, or they play another band and it's a slow song, it's a ballad, and they get emotional. It reminds them of a certain time in life, or if they're going through something, that certain song will help them release some of that negative energy in their lives. And and that's free. That's free. So who am I to say I'm going to charge this for this, and I'm going to charge him for that? When at the end of the day, it's an energy exchange. It's meant to be free. It's meant to be out there to hurt by thousands and millions of people.
Yeah, and sometimes the truest expression of it is really where the power comes from. And again, you can make a case for any number of aspects within it. And you bridged it like we have within elements of the pagan, magic, witchcraft communities. But even within there, it can be a little daunting and a little tough, because human nature is still fucking human nature. So you still have the ego elements, you still have the personality clashes, and you still have what I like to refer to, and I talk about a lot in the podcast, this one-dimensional, like, because I deem it so mentality approach, where it really turns people off. It forces isolation instead of coming together on those common elements and giving support, sharing the magic with each other. And it could be, again, in the simplest element of laughter, but sometimes it's more powerful, especially when people feel disconnected, they're lonely, they're depressed, whatever the hell may be going on. That element is precious, and many times it's fucking life-saving, and I know that from personal experience, as you do.
Music is one of those type of things that'll never leave you. It's always going to be by your side through thick and thin, through good times and bad times. Music is always going to be there for you. And I'm blessed to be a facilitator for bands and artists out there that are trying to get a message out. And I've met some just pure amazing individuals during this journey of these bands. And I can't express enough how blessed I actually am to be able to socialize and mingle with some of these musicians.
Oh, I'm
and
with
artists.
you. Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking powerful, and it's magical. Again, not to be redundant, I'm going to do a couple quick shout outs, and then we're gonna pop to one of the tracks from the Inner Demon Media catalog. Mary Beth, great to see you, sister. Mike, Patrick, Kathleen. I see my sister Christine Norris out there. I say Sumai. I see a whole bunch of people jumping around. Kristen. My brother Jonathan, I know you're bouncing about there somewhere.
Everybody?
Yeah, everybody's out there having. Now, again, we have a little different dynamic in how we run things. I know you use StreamYard. We use OBS through Restream. So, yes, people can't do the fucking crazy gift shit that we do on your show, which is an interesting thing. I've been talking with Shia. I was like, they have some really cool stuff, but we could find a way to kind of just bring it all together. We could have a fucking blast with it. But stuff to look at in the future. So I'm going to bop into one of the tracks again that you had requested, and I played it and I listened to it, and I was really impressed with it. But more importantly, my son was like, this is fucking cool. You need to put this on the show. So when my son comes out and really is like something, I usually pay attention. You know what I mean? Because again, the dynamic. We've talked about it. As we get older, sometimes we lose touch with everything that's new that's going on. We get complacent. We get comfortable. We become like the fucking old man on the porch. It's like, get off my lawn, you little bastards. You know what I mean? I don't want to ever be that way.
There's times on my radio show where I do go down that rabbit hole of just playing some classic 80s music. And
oh, no, believe me, I was there. I know. When you cracked out Huey Lewis in the news, man, I was like, what the fuck?
I'm a fan of music, man. It doesn't really matter what it is. I mean, I like just about everything. There's a few genres of music that I'm not a big fan of, but once again, if it's a song that moves me and there's lyrics to it that mean something.
Amen, right. Your music can come at you from so many different ways. So we're gonna play a track from a band called Phantom High, and this track is Black Divine, and this is their official video for it. And again, really great track. Now again, just kind of let people know, sometimes imagery can be dark, and this takes a bad rap, and you and I have talked about this offline, that, you know, you use the analogy of Black Sabbath and Ozzy. You know, they weren't fucking Satan worshipers, okay? But when you have dark elements in music and stuff, sometimes people are like, you know what I mean? They'll lose their fucking minds. So we try, and I know you've been doing this, and I've been doing it for years, to bridge some of those gaps, to say, hey, don't look at it from this end, look at it from this end. And I was impressed. So I'm going to turn everybody on to it, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more. So for everybody, this is first time out here for us. This is going to be Phantom High, Black Divine. And we'll be right back. So yeah, that was a little bit of Phantom High there with their official Black Divine track. And Mike, yeah, you hit it. You got to respect any band with a bass solo and spoken word segment. Shout out to the Boneyard. Thank you for joining us out here. Again,
what's up, Boneyard?
Not everything speaks to everyone. And I've made it a point, and Sid and I again have talked about this, and he does the same thing, to vary within different genres, different styles, and you look at Inner Demon Media, and some of the stuff, obviously is a deeper, heavier metal edge to it, but that isn't the whole picture. And
no, not at all.
As my buddy DJ likes to say, he fucking loves the heavier, and I love the heavier too, but I also do other types of things. And this is the beauty of music, that there's so many levels to it. There's so many layers, spectrums within it, that you take what you need, you leave the rest behind. Well put, as Dwight says. Absolutely. So, yeah, we were talking, Sid, why don't you tell us a little bit about Phantom High? I know you had a story you wanted to share about them.
Yeah, well, this band in particular is one of the very first bands I ever approached about bringing on to a show, like a live show on Facebook or YouTube. A few years back, I had a thing called Heathen TV, and I met that particular band, Phantom High, on Instagram. And it took me a few years, at first they didn't know who I was, and I'm sure they kind of put me off a little bit, I would assume. It's like, I don't know who this guy is. He's not a DJ. He's nothing like that. So why would I be on his show?
Well, yeah, I mean, when a random fucking demon shows up on your feed.
So it took me a couple of years to build my brand up, and then I approached the band again, and it's like, absolutely, we'd love to be on your show. And we become really good friends afterwards. And the band itself, I mean, just the imagery, the art that they're putting into their music, and how much time and effort and magic they're putting into their creating this music, for me, I've always been a big fan of who they are as a band itself. The lead singer is her name is Peril, but she's a transgender. So part of what I do is I support everybody, no matter what walk of life you're in. If you got talent and you got a good heart, I'm all about supporting you and pushing you and doing the best I can to uplift you.
Oh, listen, I'm with you 100%. I am so fucking sick and tired of the elements of sexuality crossing into everything. And don't get me wrong, I respect that there has to be boundaries. Like, I don't think anybody out there really, except maybe for a couple fucking Looney Tune people, wants to see, overt sexuality in fucking grammar schools. Do you know what I mean? We don't want it around our kids to that degree. But also on the flip side, if somebody chooses to identify a particular way, be it, transsexual or as a fucking rabbit, whatever the case may be, as long as it isn't hurting or affecting anybody else, it should just be a simple aspect. As our sister Lindsay said, all about love. It really isn't rocket science.
It is. It's all about love, respecting one another. At the end of the day, if you're a good human being, I'm going to support you.
Amen.
I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what your path is. I don't care how religious you are. If you can show me the respect, I will show you the respect. And all I see is what kind of a human being that person is.
Well, we've talked about this, and I preach this all the fucking time. Words are meaningless without the actions to make them real. You can teach a parrot to recite scripture. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. You know what I mean? And so much of everything around us is driven from the narrative of, well, just because somebody said it, and it's like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be fucking crazy. But we have to dance between that. And a lot of times, it is that proverbial communication breakdown. People don't always communicate in ways that the other side understands, let alone can really, fall behind, accept, be tolerant of. But there are simple elements that I always refer to, like love, like tolerance. But again, without the actions, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, well, what do those words really fucking mean? So sometimes it is about taking the harder stand, and I've seen you do it just, in the simple element.
It's not a fun thing to be put in those positions. When you reach a certain level doing this, you're put in positions. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for you, and you hate doing it because, excuse me, you care about people and you love them because you've invested time in them. You brought them into your circle, and you've put all this time in mentoring them and counseling them and trying to help them get through. So sometimes when you have to make those stands, when then it boils down to your integrity, your moral code, sometimes it's hard because you've got so many attachments to these people that you've helped along the way. But like I said, at the end of the day, if you're a good human being, that's all that matters to me.
Or that should matter, right?
It's all that should matter, and that's all that matters to me, at least. And I try to give everybody a chance. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. But one thing you have to keep reminding yourself, you can't beat yourself up over it.
Hey, listen, I always preach it's better to be wrong for the fucking right reason. You know what I mean?
That's it. I mean, you can't beat yourself because not everybody is destined to be on your path. Every person that comes into your life, there's going to be a fork in the road at some point, and they're going to take their own road, and you have to kind of separate yourself from it. And sometimes that's easy, and sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's ugly.
Well, sometimes it takes time to be able to get the perspective, or in this case, the retrospective, to be able to really understand a thing, to be able to apply it. Again, you said it yourself, when we become emotionally compromised, it becomes harder to separate the core aspects that are, principle, as you would say, or honor, whatever the analogy may be, from how we actually feel. It's one of the pitfalls, especially for high-functioning empaths, is because we feel so much, we tend to get in trouble behind it because we're trying to do shit for everybody else. We're trying to make sure that regardless if that perspective is absolutely batshit, we're trying to give it its fair shake.
Or at least we're trying our best.
Yes, trying our best for sure. Now,
sometimes we might make the wrong decisions, and we may take the wrong turn sometimes. And I'm a big believer that not beating yourself up. Sometimes you take the wrong path. Doesn't mean that you're a failure or you've made mistakes. It just means that you took the wrong path. Back up, take the other one. Don't give up.
Well, I do have a quick little thing for anybody that needs it. Our brother, our common ally, Samuel L. Jackson, and this is what he's got to say.
Taste the motherfucking rainbow!
Yeah, taste the motherfucking rainbow. So, and Lindsay's here. She's like, ally here. I'm available for anyone who needs it. Lindsay's one of the people that came, you introduced us basically through your circle. And I got to tell you, she's all over the fucking place, but not in a bad way. Like constantly, like I see her in the chats. She's posting this. She's on top of that. She's a mad woman. You know what I mean? But in the best, beautiful kind of way, not in that, oh God, here she comes again kind of moment. And it's very inspirational. It's encouraging. It's uplifting to see people honestly respond. And I can see the dynamic of how they respond, not only to you, but to those concepts, as you call them, those elements of integrity, the common elements, the strength in numbers. Again, words get interchanged. I talk a lot about, what was fucking witchcraft and magic, 100 years ago is fucking science today. And we're just limited by our ability to understand that we don't know. Half of it is stumbling around in the fucking dark. But again, the analogy, if you stumble around with a bunch of other people, you got a better chance. You know what I mean? Especially when you're out in the deep, dark shit.
I'm looking here in the chat. I'm over on the Inner Demon Media page, and I see Mary Beth in chat going, I hope people don't think that way of me. Damn.
No, we just didn't get to her yet because we had to kind of focus on Lindsay first. You know what I mean? Believe me, Mary Beth, your time is coming soon, sister.
I'm internally grateful to people like Lindsay, people who step up selflessly.
Listen, during your show earlier, it was me, Mary Beth, and Lindsay, and we were just, having like these fucking GIF wars again during your songs and stuff. And I got to tell you, it's so fucking refreshing. It's a lot of fun. And even just in a simple analogy of just a couple of people hanging out, being stupid, listening to music, it's fucking magic. It's real magic. It's not that Harry Potter Leviosa. You know what I mean? It's real.
You're getting together and you're connecting energies. Whether it's through gifts, whether it's through a simple hello, welcome to the show, you're connecting with them.
Or me trying to let you know that I fucking hate the new Metallica. I was like, no! That's bullshit.
It's not all. Look, the new 72 seasons is a bit
Listen,
long.
I'm being more sarcastic. I'm an old Metallica guy, like, the Dave Mustaine year. So, knowing, you know the history like I do. So that's why I threw the Dave Mustaine gif out there, because Dave still fucking is bitter and broken. Even though I think Megadeth has done great work for years, despite some of their little, dances with whatever weirdness.
It's one of those things that I don't think it'll be one of the great rock history moments where bands. What would the band sound like if Dave Mustaine was in it and not Kurt Hammett?
Well, I mean, we know what the band sound like. You listen to Kill 'Em All, and that's where Metallica broke through. And I was there during like the Old Bridge Metal Militia years, Johnny Z, when they were, just crawling the shit bars, like the Royal Manor and fucking Moors. And
1881 when Metallica first. That's how old I am. I can remember them first.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm in the same sinking boat, brother. So I wanted to talk about this. I'm going to pop this up on the screen because you shared this a couple days ago, and it's one of the things that you and I share a deeply rooted love and commitment to our children, our prodigy. You know what I mean? And I have a picture up of you and your son. I know you had your son on the show last week, which I thought was absolutely fucking beautiful. I make music with my son. I performed with my son. He comes on the show, and it really is such an important aspect, I think, especially now, to talk about, because this is, when people talk about how do we change things, we have to teach our fucking children better. Again, it's not rocket science. Most of the dysfunction is conditioned. It's learned behavior. You and I both know children are not born fucking racist. You know what I mean?
Nope.
They're taught that. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, your kids and how you perceive it? I like to hear your words.
These kids, Noah, that's who you see on the screen right now. That's my youngest. He's 5 years old, and I got a 7-year-old. Is Thomas. He's got that's disability, and I homeschool him. I'm really blessed to be able to say that I can spend my time at home with my kids as a father, being able to be around 24/7 around them. They're getting the full frontal effect of what having both parents at home raising the kids. And I tell you, I'm just blessed beyond all measure. Without these two kids, I wouldn't be who I am today. They're the reason why I'm still breathing. They're the reason why I'm doing everything that I'm doing. Interdemon Media, the live shows.
It gives you
all
focus.
this. It gives them a different light on Daddy. They see Daddy now every day, 24/7. But when they get older, when I'm gone, because I'm almost 50 years old, I'll be 50 in a couple years. Gary be 49 in July. And so there's going to be a big part of being realistic. There's going to be a big part of their lives that I'm not going to be around. I mean, by the time they get out of high school, I'll be in my close to 70.
Yeah, but
so
you're not factoring in technology. When the aliens get here and we all get to evolve and shit like that, you'll probably find out you're going to live forever, and you're going to fucking regret saying these words because, like, oh, now I don't even get to fucking die. See, that's how it'll play out for guys like us.
If I don't get abducted by aliens and get anally probed and then cryo chambered, then if I do pass away, this would be something that they can look back on and see my dad's body of work, and they get to look back and see the things that dad's done, and how he's tried to inspire people, even when he was doing even through all the hard times and the struggles doing this. I kept on path and kept doing what I've done. Now I have another son as well, and he passed away last year actually June 1st. He was 27 years old, so there was a big gap. But my first son's 27, and then I go from 7 to 5. I got a grandkid that's in there, and he's 8 years old as well. His name's Sebastian. And I made a lot of mistakes first time around with my oldest.
But you took that and you applied it. You didn't just hide behind it or fucking dismiss it. You took the painful lessons.
No reason.
Yeah, and you put them into application in what you do now. I see that in how you speak. Because there's certain elements. You and I, again, both know this. People can bullshit their way through a lot of things. They can dance the dance. They can put a fucking mask on. But there's certain aspects of things that you can't fake your way through, especially when it comes to parenting or being open-minded. You know what I mean? Because the actions always betray the bullshit. You know what I mean? So when you're real, when you approach it, even if it's painful or ugly, you have the high ground because it is, by its very nature, honest.
It has to be. You have to be true to yourself, and what I call sometimes the brutal honesty, and sometimes,
or tough love, as they say,
or tough love. And nobody likes to look at themselves and look at all the bad things that they've done in their lives. And people tend to file that away in the back of their head in that little filing cabinet that they call a brain, and they tend to forget about it. And I'm a firm believer the only way to grow and become a better person, an individual, better human being, is facing those demons, those things that you run from and you don't want to talk about because you're ashamed of. But I'm here to say that there's no reason to be ashamed of the things that you've done in your past. Those things, those broken pieces of your past has created this masterpiece of a person that's standing in front of the mirror today.
Yeah, no, very well said. And thank you, Honey. Honey did the shameless promoting for her. She's like, please share. Shiya just needs 346 more subscriptions so she can get to 1,000. She does deserve it. And listen, it's the same analogy. You can look up Inner Demon Media on Facebook, online, through YouTube, any number of the social media sites you're involved with to different degrees or another. And it doesn't cost you a fucking thing to just like, subscribe. If you like something, share it out. You know what I mean? If you want to know more, reach out. We're all available. And, you know, as Lindsay said, we're just going to freeze your fucking head, Sid. You know what I mean? I see Robo Sid in your future. Just
Robo Sid.
Unending, you know, kind of, you ever see AI? You ever see how he just kind of went through like, you know, fucking 10,000 years on the bottom of the fucking ocean, just like, somebody please turn me off.
I'm looking at this picture of me and Noah, and I'm sitting there just for a second going, man, could you imagine another clone of me? And I'm looking right at Noah going,
yeah, right, no, I look at my son the same way. My sister, Deanna, the assassin queen. Good to see you, my sister. She was on the show about a month or so ago, really heavy, deep poetry and stuff. And I know you've been doing that as I have, trying to just get the everyday people around us involved, because everybody has stories to tell, to share. And it's important. This is what all cultures, all societies, everything is built upon, is the nature of our experiences, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. And we take from them. Sometimes we learn, but sometimes it's just that reflective moment of, you know, somebody sharing a part of themselves. And, you know, it doesn't always carry over to everybody. You know, music, obviously. Some people like this, some people like that. But the more that we put it out there, the more that we share it, I believe, like you, it's a testament. It's why I first started doing the podcast, because I wanted a testament. I didn't want somebody to say, well, this is how he felt about it and this is what he thought. No, you can go back to the fucking tape and I'll tell you what I thought and how I fucking felt about it. And yeah, Lindsay says, you can't fake that smile, the innocence of children. And sister, I am with you. I have been preaching this for fucking years. One of my quoted sayings is, I believe the biggest mistake we make as adults is we forget what it was to be children. Children have incredible clarity. They have incredible perception, and they have a dynamic of innocence that we lose, that the world kind of fucking stomps out of us. Now,
and that gift of imagination that we lose when we get in adults as well, that I think is
absolutely
one of the biggest tools when it comes to magic. One of the biggest tools I always firmly believe is your imagination. Be able to create things in your head, and to get back to that as an adult can be a challenge sometimes. And once again, I'm blessed to have little kids around me to help me get back to those states of what it's like to be a kid.
Yeah.
I get to use my imagination, and I get to play around with them again and make up stuff and have games and pretend I'm the refrigerator police so they don't get in and get any more Lunchables or things like that.
Yeah, sometimes we got to be fucking dad. So I'm going to, on that note, I'm going to cut out to a quick track. This is a track that my son and I have been working on with Jeff Thal, and Matt Brown's going to be doing the vocals on. It's going to the next stage DJ vocal tracks, and then I'm going to do the final lead stuff. But part of what I have been doing from the beginning is documenting all the pieces of the journey, not just the polished, oh, here's the finished product. This is the journey. Some of it is sometimes a little bit rough, but it is in my own way kind of sharing the process, because I believe the process sometimes is just as important as the end product. So we're gonna promo this. This is again called Eight of Swords, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk some more with Sid, and we're gonna talk about talking with heathens. So hang in there, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So enjoy Eight of Swords. So yeah, that was the updated Eight of Swords. A little bit more structured than the first time around. It has what is referred to in the engineering world as it is the scratch track, where everything else is built around. So as we mentioned before we cut, my brother Sid has a few things, a few pies that he has his fingers in. And one of those is Talking with Heathens, which coincidentally will be tomorrow night. What time again? 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Talking with Heathens?
Well, the idea was to mix some spiritual stuff and add some music videos into the mix as well. We try to add at least one or two music videos related to the spiritual world, if not sometimes just bands that I just want to play. But the idea really basically around it is Papa is from a different walk path than I'm on. He's a Norse pagan, animism. He works from home. He lives on the mountain. He's like the authentic fellow that you would see in the mountain pagan type guy, you know. But he's got this heart that's just huge, and that's what kind of interested me in him as well. His authenticity and the way how authentic he is.
Oh yeah, that screams. When I watched the podcast the last time that you guys did it, I was not only blown away by the personality dynamic, because again, over time, like you, I'm sure, you can read through elements when people are just talking the fucking talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's static, it's scripted, right? There is no real energy behind it because by its very nature, it isn't fucking real. So that first jumped out, and the element of commitment, not only within his craft, with his art, but how that connects him back to what I like to refer to as the living world. You know what I mean? And that's an incredible, powerful dynamic that we need so much more of.
He's one of those guys. When I met him, it was an instant. We became friends instantly. About a week later, after having him on the show, he kind of approached me, and I was shocked because, you know, when you get these guys, and let's be honest, when you deal with the Norse pagan community, they have this image and they portray themselves to be a certain way, and they try to walk this walk 24/7, and you never get to see who they truly are as a person. Not every person's born to walk a pagan path. Not every person's out there.
Well, you and I both know some of that is stereotyped as well, too. People playing the part versus actually believing and living within those dynamics, but also balancing it out with the world that we live in. You know what I mean? Because some of it, again, you know, it's no different than going to the comic book conventions or the Renaissance fairs. You have people who embrace it for a style, for a fad, for all these other things that, again, they're bullshit, you know. And again, not to take away, you know, people should be able to enjoy what they want to enjoy, but there's a big difference between somebody that's playing a part and somebody that, you know, I believe in Papa's case is the real deal.
The real deal. You're not going to get any more real. He gets it. He gets the modern idea of paganism. A lot of communities are especially the Viking communities, heathen communities. They're stuck on the old ways. You know what I mean? They're stuck in the old ways of thinking. And Papa, he has this ability to be able to connect at a different aspect. Not only is he connecting to the Norse pagan community, but he's also he connects well with the mainstream community. People that are not on that path, and he exposes himself in a way.
I have his picture up there, and he's got the Appalachia shirt. And my man definitely, he has no issue broadcasting who he is. He is completely comfortable in his own skin, in the world around him, and he's not afraid to be like, yeah, here I am, and, you know, take what you need, but don't think for a second that your opinion or your perspective or anything is going to fucking define me. And again, that is a rare commodity, especially in the world today because so much is just layered in bullshit. It's, fluff. It's illusion magic. I refer to it as weaponized empathy. And, to find those, again, I look at them as, precious stones. We have to preserve them. We have to encourage them. And more importantly, we need to share them so that way people see that there is another side. There are other paths. These things aren't just, fucking whimsical fairy tales. There is old magic, real magic, layered, buried within this shit.
That's it. And so the idea basically around talking with heathens was this: two guys. Well, we used to have other co-hosts, but we're now doing it just him and I. And the goal is to try to help and inspire people with different points of views of how we see things. Papa sees things a different way than I see things. I'm not so much the heathen, pagan, Norse pagan, Viking type of guy. I'm more of I try to dive more into and try to inspire people that within themselves.
But you do borrow certain elements, you translate them differently, but there are certain core concepts. We all have a very, very similar code of honor, as one example. And, regardless if you define that behind Norse or pagan or Christian or whatever, honor is still honor. It's about truth. It's about walking
respect.
the walk. Right. Respect.
And I'm going to leave it at just that. It's about respect. It doesn't matter who you are. Like I said, it's about who you are as a human being. What's your moral code? What is your integrity saying? Do you know your worth? Are you comfortable in your skin? And with this show, we have two different points of views at things sometimes, and we've had some heavy, hot conversations.
But that's good. That kind of dialogue is important because that's how we learn to look at things differently, because we don't always agree and we don't see it.
Yep. That's the beauty of it right there, is that at the end of the day, we can have different views and different outlooks on things, but it still isn't going to change the fact that we love each other as human beings and we are friends.
And more importantly, we can find common ground within that. And again, support each other to the degrees that we can and learn from each other. I'm going to throw this out there because I think it's important. One of the things that we do, like you do, is we make it a point to try and support each other within the elements of our magic and what we do. So this is actually just taken literally from his workshop. And for those of you at home who are listening and can't see it, go check out Papa Olafson, www. Yes.
Volunteer.com, yes.
Right.
And I tell you what.
It's FJALLVAETIR. Again, that's FJALLVAETIR.com. Yeah, and that's actually just Old Norse for mountain spirit, which, coincidentally, being a true son of Appalachia, I think really frames nicely with who he is, how he lives. And those drums, as Lindsay said, those fucking drums are incredible.
I highly suggest anybody who's into the Norse pagan traditional tools like what he does, drums, rattlers, pouches. He makes almost everything.
And he makes some cool shirts. And so, he has dynamics of things that he has created to, really approach and apply to just about anybody. So you don't have to necessarily be a drummer or into the deeper rune aspects. You may say, oh, that's a really cool shirt. I just, I like that. And, you may not have anything to do with the path, but it supports not only him, but what he does. And Lindsay, thank you. Lindsay threw out the link on the chat. Yeah, go over there, check him out. Go directly to that site. When I talked to him, he said very specifically, do not go through Etsy. Etsy is ripping people off. That's right. I said it. Come get me, Etsy. I don't give a fuck.
But I tell you, highly suggest going to Velveteer.com and checking out all of his wares. I personally bought a drum from him that I tell you, I'm very picky about who I buy wares from and within the community. It's something about the work that they put in, and the magic and intent they put into their work. And I'm very picky about who. I just
Oh,
don't.
listen, you can see it in his craftsmanship. This is not, something that, he threw together from some bullshit from China. You know what I mean? What he does is real.
You got 1,000 of these little mom and pops, companies, stores that are going around selling jewelry, and I can appreciate that. And I have nothing against that, but at some point, even for the small community people that do sell wares, it becomes a production. They're making things to make it, to sell it, and where for Papa, there's a certain magical intent behind it when he does his work that
and it reflects in it, and again, some of it is also too, if we all support each other, then we all by default can be more successful, and it creates just a better environment for everybody. So definitely check him out. I hope to have him on the podcast sometime before the summer ends. He's going to be running around now that the weather is warmer. He does a lot of the festivals and things, but check him out on Facebook. Check him out, as Lindsay said, Bobbatier.com. So we're going to cut out to a track real quick, and again, another one of the Inner Demon Media catalog. And this is a band. Yes, this is Forever May Fall, and this is a track called Undertow. Again, their official video. You want to give us any lead in on these guys before we cut to this track?
This band right here, I've met them since when I started doing this. I've met one of the first, well, not one of the first, but I met them when their first single came out, Aftermath. And I just love the sound. I love the vibe of the band. Another good example of a community coming together. The drummer and the guitar player, we all like one big family now. And they're getting ready to release a new song coming up here April 7th as well. I don't ask me the name of the song right now because I can't remember it. But
we'll get it into the mix. Have no fear.
But they do have one coming out April the 7th, coming up this Friday. Another new song coming out. So great band. This song here, Undertow, you'll see why, guys.
Yep, we're going to promo it here for the first time here, but it's been in the Inner Demon catalog, like I said, so we're really blessed to be able to share it with you guys out here tonight now. So we're going to cut to that, and then we'll be back.
Get raining while your veins wear by demons we know. Ignore the wreckage, swallowed by another world. Baptized by demons we know, we know. We're disconnected, drowning in the undertow. Baptized by demons we know, we know.
So yeah, that was Forever May Fall, Undertow, their official music video. And,
Yeah.
Again, really nice stuff. I'm a student of not just what's in a song, but how it's produced, how it's engineered. And you can hear in that, not just see it within the video. And, for obviously those who are listening to the podcast and don't have a visual behind the official video, I think the song itself stands for itself. It's one of the things I've always hated, and I hated about the MTV element was, you can take a shitty song and, put some cool stuff behind it, and all of a sudden, it wins Video of the Year. And I'm just like, yeah, but it was a shitty song. You know what I mean?
They actually, the video for Aftermath, the first video, they actually won an award for the video in North Carolina Music Awards. They actually won Best Video.
Nice. Very cool.
And we're talking about a production maybe less than $1,500. The video itself was put together for less than that.
Listen, some of the organic stuff I think is way better than this over commercialized produced, kind of swill they're like slop. They're here, fucking eat this. Go spend your. I'm going to be honest. That's how I kind of feel about the new Metallica. You know what I mean? I'm just like, all right, guys, have you not made a fucking enough money? Again, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I've been a Metallica fan for years since they first came on the scene. But you have to look at it, and especially with like ticket prices. I talked about this in the beginning of the show. It's fucking insane. Most people can't afford to go to a mainstream show because it's fucking ridiculous. So what is the alternative? Obviously, and it's a simple one, is the local music scene. Okay? Because that is where this all begins. You know what I mean? So you can go see great bands with great music for a fraction of what it's going to cost you to get shitty seats at Metallica. Now, granted, yeah, you're not going to hear Metallica, but that's the beautiful thing. They have so much airplay that you can turn on just about any fucking station and you're going to hear them. These guys, like Incognito Theory and the others like Phantom High, Forever May Fall, Circus 66, myself, and a whole lot of others, people don't really get to hear it because we're not commercial. We're not on all the radio stations. So what you do, what I do, becomes even more important in promoting to get it. And not just for the band's sake, for people. People should hear this. It should be shared. What's the point of having this if nobody gets to experience it?
For the love of music.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a powerful fucking thing.
It really is.
So, yeah, and we have some commonality. It was no coincidence. Incognito Theory, as the example with us, came into your stable, into your Inner Demon Media. And I've known Dave Incognito for years. We performed together at a show when, he played and my band Broken Past at the time played. So we knew each other from that scene. We lived by each other. We had common friends, common associates, and played at the same club. So, sometimes the universe says, hey, by the way, and there was no coincidence. It was actually, kind of like, oh, this is that spark, that cognitive, oh, yeah, this is where we're supposed to be now. So, kind of coming full circle with some of that and then increasing and expanding. You've been really generous. We've been broadcasting to your page as Shiya has been doing her lives on it. We're cross-promoting music, and everybody is better for it. We're making new friends. People are like, wow, I didn't know about this. Like, as Lindsay shared, I didn't know that you had a merchandise store. So I can't, and I'm going to try. It's https://my-store-dd824c.creator-spring.com/listing/inner-demon-media. Oh my God, that was a fucking mouthful, bro.
Was that all for my Teespring store?
Well, that is as the link as Lindsay has posted it. Listen, one of the beautiful things, and you and I set the stage for this, is there's so much more to come. This is, in many ways, the early evolution of not only the dynamics that you're building, but what Shiya and I have been working on, what Lindsay's been working on, what Dave has been working on, what we've all been working on, what Papa's been working on. There is strength in numbers. There is that commonality. We just have to kind of, find what works, and some of it is trial and error, but it is also, as you and I said, off mic, a numbers game. You just have to keep working at it. You have to make the subtle little adjustments, and you have to be engaged to the best that we can. Now, again, sometimes it's harder for me because as a musician and a creator, I'm constantly writing fucking songs, doing fucking commercials. I got this show, got everything in the house. So I find, sometimes that I'm trying to force things into, the square peg round hole dynamic. So I've been trying to find that better balance to be creative, make the content, but also be out here to support. I'm fucking social media illiterate. Like, Shiya handles most of that stuff. And I'm still learning about a lot of the ways that the algorithms and stuff, I figured out some of them, and then there's like 30,000 other ones, depending upon which fucking social media site you're talking about. And I know you've been dancing within that too.
Well, yeah, it comes with the territory. You do something good, some sort of power to be is going to try to stop you at some point. You just got to keep forging forward and keep doing what you're doing. Some days... Yeah,
you caught a 24-hour ban from Facebook for, basically...
Well, that was fucked. Thanks to my group, I have a group that's called Inner Demon Nation, and one of the people in there posted I'm thinking, well, it's in the group, it's got to be right to post, otherwise we would got to report on it. So I snatched it up from the page.
Oh, the meme that you shared was great. It's just like, I got Facebook banned for sharing something I found on fucking Facebook.
And I shared it. It was a picture of Conan the Barbarian standing on a bunch of skulls, and then it's got a
yes,
it's got a chick below with a belt wrapped around her with condoms, and it was something.
Yeah, well, listen, we live in the age now, and rightfully so, because you and I, again, have talked about this. Guys have fucked it up for the rest of us for fucking thousands of years. So we have now finally hit the point in evolution that we're going to pay the fucking price for it. You know what I mean? And I don't blame women. You know what I mean? I really do. I look at it, and I'm just like, well, this has been a long time coming, so we better just buckle up and go for the ride. But it is, unfortunately, a line that isn't as clearly defined. It used to be, that the conditioning element, people talked about things, and, granted, there's always something that people freak out about. But now you have this added dimension of, especially when things even remotely start to cross into a sexual element, or it crosses into a political or religious element, or just something that somebody's like, you know what I mean? People lose their fucking minds. And the overcompensation, it's just like, the red button is like, all right, fuck it, cancel, flush them. You know what I mean? And it happens that fast.
They've tried to cancel me a couple of different times before, but it never works.
But again, that's the dance that we have to, really almost relearn periodically, because it changes, what you could say and talk about. You look at old, like an old Mel Brooks movie. You look at, Blazing Saddles, or you look at Quentin Tarantino and Django, and there's so much fucking racist language in there that it'll make your head spin. But if you or I were to come onto our show and even drop one of those, it would be like a bad episode of fucking South Park. We would be canceled before you even could say what. It would be over.
I've done a lot of my sound bites for my radio shows. Like I have bands that do sound bites for me. I make sure that, let's say you're listening to Inner Delinquent's Ball, prepare to be offended, because I really don't care what I say a lot of the times. I mean, if I'm a guest on somebody's show, I respect what they're doing, and I keep it, to a respectable level. But when I'm on my show, sometimes if I'm not pushing buttons, I'm not doing my damn job.
Well, some of it is cathartic too, because for you also, like me, it's an outlet for you. You're not doing it for money. You're doing it the way that you're doing it, so that way nobody else can really pretty much tell you what the fuck to do. It's like, it's mine. You don't like it, don't fucking listen.
Kick rocks. Kick rocks. I'm not stopping you to listen.
Yeah, and it is, because we don't, and I know, I feel from our conversations and our actions, you actually, you care. You don't want to hurt people. You know what I mean? It's not malicious. I've never seen you in an element just come out like an asshole and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna fucking, it hasn't been like that. Some of it is off the cuff type of moments. Somebody will say something, or a particular meme will pop out, and then another meme will pop out, and then it'll escalate, and then all of a sudden Lindsay and Mary Beth are having some weird kind of foot porn type of episode that you walk into, and you're like, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to react to this. I'm a guy. I don't want to get fucking canceled. So we stand there and look stupid, but you're like, fuck it, I'm going to play, and you'll throw something fucked up in there, and I'll give you credit. My balls aren't that big yet. You know what I mean? I'm still growing them to the degree, but some of this is also conditioning. I also do a lot of other things where I have to put on that mask. I have to kind of like, all right, I can't just cut loose with what I really think or what I really feel.
That's where it took a lot of time to condition myself that way. I used to feel that I had to, it mattered to me what people thought about what I was doing and how I was doing things. So it was a matter of conditioning myself to tell myself, you know what, it doesn't matter if anybody likes it or not. If you're enjoying what you do, whether it be vulgar, whether it be offensive, But
you're also, listen, again, you're also not going to come out with some over-the-top NAMBLA child porn shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'll make the offhanded joke like I do my Father Flanagan character. I'm like, come here, little boy, and you sit on my lap. Let me tell you all about the Catholic Church. You know what I mean? And that's just my way of dealing with my Catholic trauma. You know what I mean? It's not me saying that, hey, just because you're a Catholic, you're a fucking pedophile.
I grew up in the 80s where I've always been wanted to be in the entertainment industry, I guess. And comedy was one of the things that I always loved to do. I've always felt like I've meant to entertain in some shape or fashion. It's always been for me comedy. So I take these elements to my shows, like my live shows, and I take that element of comedy to the live shows. You'll get bands get tired of the same old interviews. How'd you come up with the name? What was your first song?
I mean, listen, you and I both know that's just the fucking bread and butter, fucking milk toast kind of. We have no originality. We have no creativity. We're just going to go through the fucking motions because it's commercialized. They don't really give a shit half the time.
I don't give a shit all the time, and my show and my shows will reflect that. I've had some bands. We go into this. I go into a show. I want people to see the band in a different point of view. I don't want the fans already see these bands and their album covers. They hear the music. They see the image that the band allows them to see. But when they come on,
you're basically going to pull up the toilet sheet and show them what's underneath.
I'm exposing them for who they are
Yeah.
as people, as individuals, and that's real. And it's really important for not only the band, but also for the fans of the bands, or people that's not know who the bands are, but are getting introduced to them for the first time. They're seeing these guys laughing, joking, telling jokes, cracking eggs over their crotches, taking their testicles and weighing them on scales. I mean, there is no holds bar when it comes to a show, and I mean that. I want people to be. I want to show there's no script. We go into these shows pure, authentic. We how the conversation goes, it goes. And
Yeah,
sometimes
Lindsay's saying she loves the live shows because they're genuine, authentic. Same here. We don't rehearse. It's all live. It's completely unscripted. I'll segment little things like you do if I'm going to talk about a particular band, if I'm going to talk about somebody's show or a particular something or another that's fucking going on, especially when somebody, goes out in the world and does something absolutely fucking stupid that we just have to comment on because, that's what stupid's there for. And that's the beauty of comedy, too, is you can take all that beautiful stupid.
I'm one of those guys that sits over in the corner and encourages that stupidness.
Well, listen, we all have to play our parts. See, I'm the guy that unfortunately usually probably has to follow behind you and do the damage control. But that's okay. Listen, that is the beauty, again, of strength in numbers. None of us are fucking perfect. We all have our little niches, our little specialties, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But together we can, get through the chaos of everything else a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and, maybe have a good time. I have to shout out my sister Shiya because she is one of our music collaborators and will be one of the magic energy dynamics in a lot of the new tracks that will be coming out over the summer. So Shiya, my sister, I see you. You snuck in. I just saw that little hand. I don't know the way it looks because it's right over Shiya. I don't know if you're trying to give Shiya a hand job or what the hell you two are up to, but yeah. Well, see, the two of them have it like that. So, see, that's where I can get away with it because I know them both well enough in real life and obviously out here. And Shiya really, I can't say a good enough about her. She really is really incredibly cool person and with a lot of really incredible talents. She also is a creator. She's, been working on some of her own handcrafted stuff, but, she's also, the musician who has been conditioned her whole life that, because she's a woman, somehow that makes her fucking less than. And, Shiya was like, come over here with me. And then the two of them got together, and then that was the end of my world. So I'm just like, fuck, now there's more of them.
So I think some of the best vocalists in metal are the female vocalists.
They can be. Listen, again, some of this is the conditioning. I grew up on, I grew up on Janis Joplin, Fleetwood Mac, Heart, you know what I mean? So as far as I'm concerned, there has always been a female dynamic within rock and roll, and naturally that should translate to metal or punk or alternative. I loved Debbie Harry back in the day. I was blessed to see her at CBGB's many years ago. And let me tell you, she put on a fucking incredible show. You know what I mean? Never got to see Heart, but I've always respected the Wilson sisters for their ability not only to create music, but for their character, for the way they presented and did those shows and went out on the road and left a lot of themselves. And you and I both know, especially when it comes to the elements of touring and bringing music live, it takes a lot. It will just basically eat chunks of your life away to just simply bring it out to other people. And unless you're like a heavy end name, you're not making fucking money. You know what I mean? You're sleeping on a fucking shitty bus somewhere. You know what I mean? You're eating prison grilled cheese sandwiches made on the radiator of the bus.
I think that's another reason why I don't do the whole contract thing. I'm old school, I guess. When it comes to a record label, it should be up to the label to help finance the band. The band struggles enough as it is. they're not making money at these venues. If they are, it's little to nothing. And if they are making money, it's 9 times out of 10 it's from selling their own merch. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about no contracts and not charging bands any money. I mean, I want them to make beautiful music, and I want to be able to play it. And if I can be a facilitator for that, then, hey, my mission's complete.
Yeah, no, amen. All right, listen, we're going to take a final musical break. We're going to play Circle 66. And again, A Little Piece of Magic. This is, again, their official video. And anything you want to say about these guys before we cut into them? Because, again, this is another band from your catalog.
Another great band all the way out from the UK. Annabelle and the rest of the fellas from the band create this unique sound of rock, bluesy vibe with just the singer. Annabelle has just got a voice that will shatter glass and make your ears bleed, but yet make you feel full in your heart at the same time. And they're going to be another band. They're getting ready to they're working on a new album here soon. I'm honored and privileged to have my hands a bit into that as well. So yeah, this is their latest release, A Little Piece of Magic. You guys are going to really enjoy it.
Cool. We'll be back in a few moments.
You always seem to see. Well, I'm not flawless. I got things on my mind. Looking for feathers through that crowd. I am not. Oh, do you feel it rising up? I say, oh, I will drive ahead. I will be the change. That's a better day. On your piece of magic, living the dream. Just shake your thunder off, hiding in starlight, lost in your ambition and tradition, swallowed up by all that pride and realize you're in over your head. Woo! Yeah, we'll drive ahead. I will be the change. That's a better day. I know that there's a better place. Dreaming is free and it's meant to be. So go ahead and give it to me. I will drive ahead. I will be the change. That's a better day. Find your piece of magic.
So yeah, that was a little piece of magic from Circle 66. That was their official video. And again, another one of the bands in the Inner Demon Media catalog.
Yeah. Great band, really.
Yeah,
Hopeless is the
really powerful stuff. A definite, I think, I like when people take genre elements and they throw their own little fucking twist into it. You know what I mean? They're not afraid to say, hey, I have some blues influence, but I also have some of this. And I'm going to, not unlike creating a new recipe, I'm going to throw these things together and I'm going to brew it up. And I'm going to serve it to you raw.
Another great band, though. Circus 66, go find them here on Facebook. Check out what they're doing. They'll be coming out with some new music here very, very soon.
Cool. Definitely, and again, as mentioned, and when we've been talking about this, there's a lot coming down the pike. This is just, as they say, the beginning. I know it's just the beginning for you, that you have all kinds of ideas and aspects that you see, just as we do. And, like anything, it's a process, but it gives a lot of excitement. It's like, a couple days before Christmas, and it's always a couple days before Christmas. You always got new music to unwrap and be like, yeah, check this out. And it's wild, because again, a lot of this stuff people would never be exposed to. Back in the day, I remember when I was, first playing, people would make the bootleg underground fucking, cassette tapes to get this shit out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there was no internet.
I can remember it like in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. I mean, it's probably more lines of early 90s. Mainstream radio stations, at least in my state, would dedicate like an hour one night out of a week for like the local
it'd be like
music.
Fucking midnight, and they would play some,
Yeah.
They sneak in some Zeppelin here, you know what I mean? Or, again, especially the deeper bands like Iron Maiden, you know what I mean? You had to listen to college radio stations to hear Maiden back in the early 80s. Here we are
now in the time of age. There's hundreds of online internet radio stations that are playing this music, and it's really it's fun to watch how much the music scene and industry has changed throughout the past 40 years.
Yeah, and it'll continue, and as it should. It is by its very nature organic. It is only limited by the creators, and there's always going to be new creators. Everything is, an evolution. You had blues to rock and roll to punk to metal, post-metal, alternative, grunge. You know what I mean? We throw labels on things, say, hey, it's this. But as, my son was joking, there are things like, Linkin Park now is referred to as classic rock. And not that they are undeserving per se, but and you mentioned it before, time flies, whether we're paying fucking attention or not, and things tend to evolve whether we like it or not. So there's a constant element in play, and again, the little things that we can do. Again, it's not going to speak to everybody. Some people will be like, hey, I don't like the way that looks, or some might be able to be like, hey, that's got too much bass, or whatever the fuck it is. But you mentioned this, and I'm a strong proponent of this as well too. Within the stereotype, especially in rock and roll and metal, women unfortunately are still kind of behind the eight ball in a lot of ways. But it's changing, and it's changing because people like you and me and others are saying, you know what, we don't have to base this off the old stereotypes. Like me personally, I don't want pornography in my rock and roll. If I want pornography, I'll go to fucking Pornhub. You know what I mean? So I don't need, like an Iggy Azalea, like, you can get my new music if you come to my OnlyFans and subscribe to my pussy. And that for me is just like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about your music now, even if I did before, because you have now framed it behind the bullshit. So I'd rather have that raw dynamic like Phantom High. Like, she's not trying to play that from, a traditional aspect. She can't help the way that she looks per se, but she doesn't overemphasize it. She is a talented musician, a talented singer. She doesn't need it to define it. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's what's forced upon female musicians and performers, that it has to be driven behind sexuality, that they can't just be good fucking musicians.
Yeah, it drives me crazy too. I never look at none of the female artists that I work with or have played any of my shows any other way except just talented people. I've supported this young lady. She's probably, I think she's 24 now, and catching the car. I met her a couple of years back and always just supported her. And it was one of those moments in your life where you're like, oh man, this is really cool. So like, quick story, Katja, we become friends. She lives out in UK and she's an independent artist. Her first album, I'm on Fire, go check it out. It's a great EP. But I met her through social media and we became really good friends. And there is a fine line when it comes to, like you said, sexualizing music. And I'm a firm believer against that. I'm all about the talent, the voice, the music that they're creating. And so we became really good friends. And she was going through a little bit of stuff in her life. And she messaged me one day out of nowhere, which really shocked me. And she goes, I just wanted to let you know that me and such split up. And I just feel like you should be one of the first people to know because, I look at you as like a big brother. Those are the moments for me that really make it worthwhile, knowing that you're making connection with people that they look so highly upon you. Hey, I'm gonna reach out to you, and you're gonna be the only one before you that knew was my dad.
Well, I mean, that's when I think you really know that you're walking the path correctly, because it shouldn't be framed about that. We should look at people for the content, the context, not just because of an element as superficial as sexuality, be it on a good end or, conversely on the negative end. I know a lot of people, we use an example like Judas Priest. When Rob Halford finally came out and stuff, I know guys that are like, oh, I'm never going to listen to that again. He's a fucking fag. And it's just like, you loved his fucking music for years. You went to his fucking shows. Now, just because he's sucking somebody's dick, unbeknownst to you, somehow defines his fucking music. Like, how much, how fucking shallow can you be? And it really, again, and Mike says it, some of it is that dark cabal, that dark energy, but it really is, it's conditioning, and that's one of the things you and I agree on and we have in common. We, as men, have to call other men out on their bullshit. It's the only way that this fucking ends. It can't just be on women. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times men just dismiss and be like, well, you're a woman, you're fucking bitching, you must be on your period, or, any number of dismissive fucking analogies. But when guys like you and I come out and be like, yo, dude, put your dick back in your fucking pants, it's a lot harder to play that coin on us because you and I are both the kind of guys that if it goes to that next level, we're going to punch somebody in the fucking mouth. And we'll be like, listen, if you don't put your dick in your pants, there's going to be a price, and women don't always have that luxury, but we do. You know what I mean? So I'm like you. I'm just like, yeah, no, fuck it. I don't care what people think. I'm going to call that shit out every day of the fucking week.
Sad that you really, this goes both male and female. It's just really sad that you got to be that somebody to come down on someone else for bad behavior.
Well, it's the proverbial leading by example. You know what I mean? Somebody has to do it or it just repeats. That is the bane of human nature, I think. And you see this joked about, you see it in fucking memes, but a lot of times people do act like fucking sheep. They'll just follow the narrative because somebody said blah, blah, this, or because, somebody went on a commercial, hey, we could make you more sexy for only $999 a minute. And they're like, really? Really? Where do I sign up? And then the reality, and you and I both know, it's bullshit. And, just more wreckage as the witch is fond, and I'm going to play her favorite clip.
Emotional damage.
Yes, emotional damage. It's fucking everywhere, man. It's fucking... Mary Beth is like, put your foot back in your shoe. I don't even know because I kind of lost where some of it went. That's the downside of the live chat. And you know this, you can't always be completely in tune with everything that's fucking going on, especially when you and I are up on the fucking rant. So I'm just like, and part of me is terrified because the last time I walked in on that, it got weird. So as soon as I see Mary Beth or Lindsay talking anything about feet, I'm running out the fucking door, bro. I'm out. It's like, peace. So yes. Listen, it was...
Hobbit?
Go, was that?
So what is this? Hobbit feet?
That's some nasty shit, man. I'm just saying, we joke around with it in the house. I'm not a feet guy. I get my girl to rub my feet all the time, you know what I mean? And she's cool with it. But, as a general rule of thumb, I don't play that fucking foot game. Listen, brother, it was really great having you. We're going to have you out again. I know I'm going to, at some point, bounce over into your end of the spectrum, and we'll reverse this and do this the other way. Definitely want to get Papa out here. I will definitely join you guys tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Inner Demon Radio, Talking with Heathens. Okay? Papa Olafson, Sid, it's going to be a great show. Definitely check it out.
Check us out tomorrow.
Right, yeah. Like, share, subscribe, not only for us, for Sid, for everybody involved. Again, it is, by its very nature, strength in numbers.
It's going to be a touchy subject tomorrow, too, so be sure to tune in. We're going to be talking about how to deal with some of the pain of your past, how to learn to let go of those things. Or even
ironically, I'm doing a private workshop next Tuesday, pretty much on surviving narcissism. It is a common theme, unfortunately. And listen, again, all joking aside, people really do. They need support. They need ideas. They need practical guidance to survive the bullshit that's out there.
They need to see people who actually has been through it and got through it. And even if it's advice that they might not take, at least they're witnessing someone who's gone through some of the pain or the past traumas. And it's honest, yeah.
So in the spirit of the female spirit and female singers, for those of you who don't know, yes, my witch Shiya, she actually sings too. And this was one of our earlier tracks, the first one that she and I did together. And she will be the voice on later music that will come out during the summer. Obviously, again, as mentioned, in conjunction with Shiya and others. I also do music with Matt Brown, and those tracks will be coming out a little earlier. But this is a track, and we're going to close it out tonight, that was written with a good friend of ours, Suzanne Kuhn. It's a darker tale, but it is written from the perspective of the female experience, sung by a woman who has shared that experience. And I'm just a fucking old wolf that just kind of, threw a little bit of spice over it and put it all together. So love each other, support each other. Remember, tomorrow night, Talking with Heathens, Inner Demon Media. Sid, thanks again. It was really great. And we're going to close it out with Her Desperate Mind. So until next time, again, next week will be no podcast. We'll be doing the private workshop. You can reach out to Shiya through ladyshiya.com if you want to get in on that. But we will be following up the following Tuesday. We'll be back. Lots more music, lots more shit to come. So have a great day, everybody, and enjoy Her Desperate Mind.